Mr. James Scarlett, we go again.
Happy Metal Merch Day, Gav.
I mean, so you're saying, like, make sure you get a metal t-shirt on for metal merch day, right? And I'm away up the loft digging out. I mean, does it get any more metal than a rare bolt thrower t-shirt that was given to me by Joe Bench of Bolt Thrower? And I come out and you get your boss t-shirt on that you wear every week.
I was having an argument with myself about whether Boss can metal. They clearly are.
I mean, there's certainly post metal, but
It was
I
going to
thought you
be
were coming on with
Imperial.
like your digging out your Megadeth t-shirt or
No,
something.
mate, I haven't got any of that shit. You don't wear merch for bands that the people in the street have heard of, do you? I'm not walking around in my Slayer t-shirt. But I was going to go Imperial Triumphant, but it is Metal Merch Day today, so it's the very amazing people at Metal for Good who anyone who's been to Trees ATG will no doubt have encountered them. So yeah, we've got our t-shirts on. That's good.
Brilliant, brilliant we do, and this is a mighty fine bolt throw t-shirt.
Good.
I've never worn this before. This is I've talking that one thing being rare, but it's never actually been on. Although I'm going to complain. I mean, I'm a bit of a fucking merch snob, and it's been a long time since I had a Gildan or a Fruit of the Loom t-shirt on, and I don't like the fit at all. It's just sort of hanging off me.
Mate, until the last year, I'd never even heard the word Stanley Stella before. I didn't know anything, even though I wear merch every single day of the year, pretty much. I've never known what t-shirt I was wearing until I met you. So you've educated me. But that Bolt Thrower t-shirt you should get on Vinted. That looks like something that people are going to pay 50 quid for.
I mean, you get 90 quid for this pretty easily, but I'm not giving it away. No, I mean, I'm not selling it for 80, 90 quid, even if I got offered that. It was a gift from Bolt Thrower, and I want to keep it. And also I'm not like, because with Stanley Stella, that is a lot of stuff for the Damnation clone, but I'm not a rep for Stanley Stella. Earth Positive are great. Sols to be used for Two Promoters One Pod, that's great. There's what one is it? The fucking maybe Schwell. There's a lot of really good brands out there that are AS Color are really great too. Anything, but I mean, but this is a medium. It's hanging off me, man. I feel like I'm wearing my dad's t-shirt. A medium, you know. I could just give people that are a bit more rotund the whole confidence. I'll fit in a medium too. Because it's fucking gilding or fruit on. Get anybody into it. So anyway, how are you, sir? How are you?
Great, really, really good. Yeah, work life is excellent. Hotting up for the trees announcement next week. We properly well, this pod comes out. I say next week. The day this pod comes out is the day of the announcement, isn't it?
So
So
if you listen early, if you're one of the 6 a.m. boom, and it's surprising the amount of downloads we do before I wake up. You look on your phone, you're like, how did like 1,000 people get this before I'm even crawled in my bed at 9 a.m.? So
should we do a leak? We could do a leak now, couldn't we?
no, don't mate. You're not getting me in any trouble with anybody at Trees, right? I'm good with the Trees team. So when you hear this in the morning, and then what we're gonna do, James?
We're going to do, there's going to be a bonus pod. So the announcement's going to come out on Thursday at midday. Um, that we're going to wait to see what the reaction is on social media. And then that evening, me and you are going to convene and we're going to record and we're going to release it the next day. So there's going to be like,
Do you know when you say like no one at Tangent knows about the Wednesday second day, nobody at Cheesley, like Bry doesn't know this plan yet. He's probably sitting putting this together a few days later, like they're gonna do fucking what?
he's probably got plans that night.
No.
Well, cancel them, bro. Come on. So yeah, we're going to do a bonus pod. So that'll come out next Friday. So you'll have one next Thursday. Oh, this one is Thursday.
Yes,
Next day,
the
Friday.
next day we're gonna do it.
Um,
Probably, but we say short and sweet. But do we ever keep it into short and sweet? Are you still hungover for the last pod?
Only my brother noticed that I was slurring by the end,
It
apparently.
was
So,
only the last bit.
um,
But to be
yeah,
fair, you put a shift in. You had that glass in your mouth for the full almost 2 hours, mate. You put a
it
shift
was a
in.
it was a long old pod we did, wasn't it? This is not going to become a
No,
drinking pod,
no.
but we do the odd weekend one, and it just happens that today is Friday night. So
Yeah.
cheers. Have
I know,
you?
but I did say at least start the pod sober. At least start the pod sober, James.
Yeah,
Aye. So what else have been
absolutely.
happening with yourself?
Um, so well, I've got some information for you, which you asked me for last week, which
Oh,
is about the ratings.
okay.
So Ollie from Dice was very kindly went into the data and pulled it out for me. So at number 442, the ratings are the 442nd most listened to band by the 2000 Trees audience. Now, what that tells you, I'm not entirely sure. 334 people that came to 2000 Trees last year listened to the ratings. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, the range. I'm accepting defeat. And you know what? This was primed to go the other direction because I was speaking to our agent, Tom Taff, about another one of his bands for Damnation. And I had mentioned, oh, did you hear the pod? Because I've been fighting your case for the ratings for Trees. And he had heard the pod. So I was and it was primed to me, you were gonna go and say, and coming in at 99 is the ratings, and me be like, fuck you, James. Fuck you. I'll tell you how to book your festival. But there you go, mate. You can't argue with that, considering the size of the band, they're becoming an arena size band, and there's only, would you say, 390 people that listen to them. That,
334, yeah.
aye, that is, you are banging the money, and that's the kind of information you want as a promoter, don't you? You don't want to be guessing. Have you, now that you've done this, is there anything that's really shocked you? Like, shit, that's a band that I thought would be like slap bang up there on top 10 and is like they're in the hundreds, or vice versa.
I mean, the Mars Volta, as I mentioned last week,
Hurtful, was hurtful.
was low, was surprisingly low. I mean, I've got the trees. Well, I've got both of them in front of me here. It's like pretty fascinating data. Like you kind of expect, I suppose, something like Metallica to be at number 43 or whatever, but there's some real like the Wombats are at 78. What the fuck? I mean, right, so we're going to make a list of bands that you're not allowed to listen to if you come to 2000 Trees or Art Tangent. Number one, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Number two, the Wombats. But there's a bunch. I mean,
Where the
fucking hell.
I'm interested. We're obviously going to sit here if there's no prep for this, but Modest Mouse, did they pop up anywhere?
That's we have the
Oh,
technology to find out the answers
oh
to
mate,
that.
let's just do the podcast and this. Fuck the questions.
Yeah, yeah. Modest Mouse. They're at number 542.
You know what? Done nothing but sing the praise of the fucking Trees matches, and here I am getting shat on figure eight height. Modest Mouse, fucking further back than the ratings. Modest
Mate,
Mouse, such a great band, man.
even Alter Bridge beat Modest Mouse in this
Oh,
list. But
fucking
it's pretty wild. Like Justin Timberlake's in that sort of 500s. I mean, yeah, so it's if you like data, it's like quite fun to geek out on. And even when you go to the Art Tangent one, everyone's might be cool and stroking their beards, but they're still listening to
give us
labor
6 to 10 on the art
absolute.
tangent. You give us the top five of this, so give us 6 to 10 on
Okay.
the art
So
tangent.
reminding you, we got Deftones, Tool, Radiohead, Slipknot, Queens of Stone Age. Then it goes Gojira, Metallica, Russian Circles, and then System of a Down. And I think that is remarkable, Russian Circles to punch that high.
Yeah,
They're
it's
just
class.
they're surrounded by like stadium bands.
Yeah, it's what I mean. Like for all the what you would say your typical art tangent bands, Amun Ra, Cult of Lunas, Explosion in the Sky, Mogwai, Russian Circles are actually the one that punch highest on Spotify for listenership.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it's,
why do you book Russian Circles so often? Well, look at that fucking list.
aye.
It's bonkers. I mean, there's some surprising ones. Like Idols are at number 23 on the Arc Tangent list, which I don't think you would expect. But yeah, I could literally sit here going, oh, Kendrick Lamar's at 36. That's weird.
Aye.
But yeah,
That can be the next Kofi subscriber to maybe pull out can choose like read as the top 50 or something.
yeah,
And now at 47, Arctic Monkeys.
yeah. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. The last thing I was going to tell you about, oh man, I've confirmed. No, I'm going to tell you about two things. One is I've confirmed an absolutely fucking insane band for Trees today. And it took me 4 days from not knowing the band were even remotely available. I found out 4 days ago, and it's already confirmed, and we're announcing next week. It's like, isn't booking easy suddenly. Um, People are going to go fucking mad for it. People are going to go mad.
I'm so happy,
Um,
James. But listen, I'm not doing this with a tinge of jealousy. I mean, I'm honest. I need to be upfront with you. You came on to the last pod and I said, "Oh, I just offered 5 grand," and you said, "Oh, you know that line wage you get." So they came back and says, "Oh, it's not going to work for 5 grand more." So ultimately, in my head, what I thought I had to go to do the extra 10. So in that agent's head, if you could add a wee bit, was actually 10 grand. And then we thought, right, okay, does that mean the deal's done? And then today it was a bit like, let's see if what we can do with the routing here. But it sounds like a long shot. I'm like, Oh man, I just get taken to the dance and then left, left in the dance
Yeah,
floor. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like that was there. That we just done it to get to where we need to get to. And it's like, no, that's the fee that you had to get to before I was even going to start trying to move around a lot of bits of the jigsaw to see if we're going to like, oh, that's so fucking soul
yeah.
destroying.
That's weeks at least of messing
Aye, and
around
that's
to.
like a bit like, well, if you want, because the original plan was we would announce a bunch of bands at Damnation this year, and we do have, because it was the whole thing of having these like 9, 10, 11 bands ready to go, and they are ready to go, but then it was like, oh, this band's available, that would be huge. This band's potentially available, that would be huge. With the bands we already got, we could do, we could wait a few weeks, even if we don't get it for December, we could put blind buds on for nice and cheap, let the people who just want to commit to it, then do something big in January or whenever we've got the all clear with the bands, and then go boom, right, let's go for here. And I don't even know if what the option is because it's just we've kind of went backwards and forwards with a plan for announcing and a bit like we might go and push this back to allow this happen with these bands, and then these bands we might be told in 3 weeks time these bands are not going to happen for you anyway, and it's just going to feel like a bit of kicking the balls. But at the same time, it's no one's fault. It's just like that's just the way the cookie crumbles. It's no one's like I don't feel like you're being toyed with at the minute. It feels like they're doing it with good faith, but aye, it's going to take time. You're not going to reroute a European tour in a few days. So
No,
aye, that's a bit like
I feel that to get lineups booked a year in advance, you have to really punch. The fees have to just be mad, which is why I never really do it because people are like, well, we don't know what our plans are yet. So it's basically like, give me enough money so that
we'll make the plans.
we don't have to think about what our plans are. We'll just do it.
Yeah,
And yeah, I'm never that keen on that.
aye,
This will make you feel slightly better. Um, we've talked about we talked about you never just stupidly lowball, do you? Well, I've I'm trying to have a look. I think I talked to you about this before. Where, we had like Mogwai Spiritualized and Explosions last year, and I felt like some people came from Bristol that probably would never have come to Arctangent because it was a metal festival,
yeah,
supposedly. And I kind of want to keep some of that sort of left field, sort of weird indie and stuff. So I've tried to book a couple of bands today, and I offered. So I have no idea how much they're going to be. I've never worked with the agents. All I can do is look at what venues they've played. So I offered 750 quid for this one band, and um, the manager was very nice to come back to say to me that the conversation starts at 10K. So 750 and the conversation starts at 10K. I was like, I'm really sorry. I've been doing this for 17 years and I don't lowball like that. So see you
yeah.
later. Bye.
Yeah, yeah, that's like we had a similar one. So there was bands, a lot of these reunite bands are bands that came about and they've had their one taste of a big fee, and then it's a case of right, would this band be interesting to come across it and do it even part of a tour? We'll see. We can have maybe two on the month before. What could you offer? I said, right, okay, well, let's go 7.5 if it's a tour, and if you just want to do the UK as a one-off and then go into Europe and then drop 15. The guy comes back because oh, we'll make more than that just in our own shows, and I'm like, in no world, in absolutely no world is that true or possible unless.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm looking at it and I'm seeing where other places have been booked and the bands are playing under that are not even getting those fees. And I'm like, it's just no, yeah, it's so warped. The market's so warped with these odd freakish bookings are one festival paying well over the odds and an agent for the other side of the pod and going, we're just going to go across there and get those kind of figures. I'm like, you just won't. You absolutely won't.
No.
So, aye, it's a bit wild. I know. I'm delighted for you guys. I would like to say, I mean, it feels like we started well. We got a bunch of bands in, and I was like, yes, this is exciting. And the 2025 is going to be a real smash hit. And then get really excited this week because we're about like, look at what we could have. This is sell out damnation material with these bands, and then it's like we're back to that grey area again. So
Yeah. But you're 4 months behind me in the cycle, behind
yeah,
trees, aren't you? I mean, so you don't need to stress yet, right?
I'm not stressing. You just maybe if I never had a co-host that was fucking getting headliners falling out of the sky, it feels like you open your fridge and there's a band in there ready to play. So maybe you could cut the shit a wee bit, and that'd be great. So I mean, I came on this pod from just a whirlwind. I gave myself this sort of 5 p.m. Friday deadline to try and get as much. If basically my to-do list cleared sort of the last 2 weeks before damnation to just deal with whatever the late can't plan for shit that's going to happen, and I've done this long enough to know it will happen. So it's about like paid all the bands, sorted all the traders, done the ASDA order for 105 cases of beer and cider, paid any bits of production that we could do. And by about 5 o'clock, I was like, right, okay, this is good. I can come off this now, put myself a glass of wine, get ready to do the podcast. And it was like, oh, message. Cradle of Filth have just posted that they're going to do the first songs from the first 5 albums. And we've been asking for this since we booked them, really. And now they're kind of like, right, okay, let's think about Damnation. We put some out. So then you're straight back on to try and get that, make sure that's where it's supposed to be around the internet. And
It's good
then
news though, right?
it is
That's what
good
you
news.
wanted.
Because I got a message. I got a message from somebody come on here moaning about somebody moaning on the forum. And I almost feel like I know what that's going to be. That now the complaint's going to be I wanted and it'll be anything after them. Or why did they stop there? Or that wasn't far enough back. Or just
Yeah.
it's one of
I
these
don't
things.
like the fifth.
I hate the fifth
That
album,
fifth album's fucking terrible.
and it's just like I spoke to somebody that was organising events one and went and said the worst thing you could ever do with something like food is tell people what's going to be there because the first thing they're going to get back is complaints about what's not there. It's like there's people out there that they thrive off of finding something that's a problem. So I haven't been back in the forum since obviously doing this, but I feel like I already know it's going to go there. It's going to be something about like it's no old enough, or it should also include the new stuff, or we're getting bumped. It'll be something completely fucking pathetic, and you're just like, oh come on, enough. I mean, like a guy Graham actually did gone relatively well on the internet. He was like, why is no one clashing with Cradle of Filth? And you're like that level of just not even giving any thought to it. I mean, no one clashed with Converge, no one clashed with Electric Wizard. Those both stages run up to that point. So how would you work that? Would there be no turnover? Would like
No.
the headliners are too dragged in? It's like just stop and then another band would just pop on 5 minutes later, or would just give them the 40-minute changeover, and then the other band would play for about 20 minutes or go on beyond Cradle of Filth. It's just like it's just you're just looking at something going that doesn't suit me, so I'm just gonna moan about it,
Yeah.
and I don't get it. I just don't get it at all.
People love a moan though, right? So
They do love a fucking one. So, aye, but anyway, good positive. I went to see Health last night at the garage. Fucking rammed. I mean, I think the whole tour's sold out in the upgraded Liverpool venue. But I mean, they're in my head watching it like this is a future Art Tangent headliner. And what's your thoughts on that?
yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. They're a great band, aren't they? I'm
Yeah,
I'm tentatively thinking about them for Trees this year, but I don't know. I'm not sure 100% if they're available. I'm still waiting for the agent to tell me that. But yeah, they're like one of those bands that I think can cross over.
yeah.
But yeah,
It was
future headliner.
definitely a different crowd. And obviously, in that whole industrial cyber goth, you always get a wee bit different crowd for maybe you get a Cannibal Cop show. But last night it was like it was a lot of like really attractive women in like out to go out. Like we go to gigs and you get attractive women, but they're in a boat floor t-shirt and a pair of it was like fucking corset and high heels, like ready
Yeah,
to go to, like for dinner after a gig. And then there was a lot of guys that would be finding like explosion in the sky, like sort of guys that looked like they were heading to the library afterwards. It was just
yeah,
like it was a weird mix of fancy. It was like, I don't see this type of fan at a I don't know, pick another type of alternative show, an Alcest show. Like you wouldn't see this crowd. So they're clearly hitting a market somewhere, wherever that is, or however they reach that market, that they're getting these fans that aren't going to an Alcest show, for example.
yeah. I think they were a weird band for a while because they do all these like mixtapes and like sort of kind of like remixy albums and like it's a bit hard. They're sometimes a bit hard to sort of latch onto.
Yeah,
But I feel like they seem to just be steadily growing. So yeah, I'd have them back.
it's good, and
Uh,
it's great to see those options coming up as well. Not to say they couldn't play Damnation, but it's just a bit. It's again like having a post rock band to headline Damnation. I think there's a lot of the ones where there's too much of your market you miss. So it'd be good to have involved, but no. I mean, if they get to the size you need to headline, you're a bit like that. It's a bit more. That's a bit more difficult. It's very. I mean, it's industrial in it. It's like borderline almost dance at points.
yeah, yeah. So you got to get them there before they get too big, so you can have them headline in your second or third stage, maybe.
Yeah.
So how? Talk to me about like when do you go to Damnation? I don't actually know this.
So I'm going to go down to Outbreak the Sunday beforehand. I drive down.
You are a lunatic.
How?
In the week of your festival, you're going to go to
Ah,
another
but it's
festival.
for the festival. It's a working trip.
Yeah, sure. Sure,
I'm
sure.
going to go down to Manchester for Outbreak, catch up. We could get any of those sort of last minute panic things. Make sure, because what happens as well is like you talk to the venue and the venue management. This is what we want to do, and that's the plan for you. And then next thing you know, lost in translation, and Portaloos on the other side, and the tent you were going to put up so fucking backwards, and you're like, this is not the site plan we put together. So go down for Outbreak, make sure the venue's as it's supposed to be, and enjoy Outbreak.
You're not
And
sharing anything. There's no similar, there's none of the traders or marquees or anything being shared.
it's a shame. It is a real shame because I've tried now for several years with Sidewinder and Manchester Adored, and I'm like, come on, guys. I mean, the Mojo, the accessibility platforms, the basics of the stages, the some of, if we put a tent outside, we're bringing cabins in, but the outside cabins are a minimum 4 week hire. So it's about like, let's use them. Let's all use them together and share the bill. But you get some promoters that are just not really interested, or it's like almost like it's one branch of their company and they've built it all in and they're not even interested in having the conversation. You get
Yeah.
other ones that are just like maybe I don't know, like a sidewinder, then get into Outbreak. The production's so different. One's a fucking DJ and like all the productions and lighting, and then you get Outbreak, which is bands and probably almost none of the production and lighting. It's a hardcore show, so I just it becomes all you need is one or two problematic promoters or lazy promoters in the middle of it, and it just becomes your aye. It's a bit messy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty disappointed because I'm sure there will be bits of the carcass that are there, but I get the feeling that we're all just paying top dollar for the same thing when there's no chance that we should be. You know what I mean, if ultimately if the D-Dig isn't happening for Outbreak because sorry if they shouldn't be getting charged for it. And we shouldn't be getting charged for anything as if people are coming in and building. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. It's less person days at the very least, isn't it? I mean,
I
maybe
very
it's
at the
the
very
higher
least I was like
charge.
one
Yeah.
time I was like, we could save 20 grand in labour costs
Yeah.
across this last year, and this had nothing to do with Outbreak. It was Manchester Adored, Sidewinder, and another event. And I was like, we could just with the maths here, we could save like 20 grand in labour costs. But again, it just I kind of hit my head off a wall to the point it was like it wasn't worth it. So go down for that. I'll drive. I was going to go down and spend the week in Manchester, but it really doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to go back down on the Wednesday, hire the van, and then from the Wednesday it's going to like I think the backline shows up Thursday, but on Wednesday, like the drink will show up. Anything that's non-perishable for the riders will show up, which means we can get that all into the dressing rooms and into the cabins. One job ticked off. Thursday, I think the backline shows up, get that loaded in onto the stages, get that all ticked off. By that night, probably the sound checks, lighting checks, and we'll get everything else done. The tents will go up outside, put the tables in, get ready for the merch, and then aye, Friday it's like right, okay, your bands are showing up from I mean, decapitated they're probably there for like 8 in the morning, and then it'll be like, okay, so right now we're in. We're a big long sound check for the guys because they're obviously doing that album with the original singer, and then doors open at 3, and away we go.
Mate, honestly, I mean this very sincerely. I have never been so fucking excited about anything in my entire life. I cannot wait. All this, like, it makes it better because of what we've done for the last 7 months. Do you know what I mean? We've
Yes,
sat here fucking talking about it for 7 months, and I haven't got to worry about a
aye,
thing, right?
aye, aye,
There's four of us come in, brilliant crew of people, and we're gonna have a fucking lovely time. There's a bunch of music industry friends and stuff that are going to be there, and
aye. Yeah, a chance
you
to
know,
catch up and to just enjoy the bands as well because I'd never I don't know if we discussed it in this podcast before, but definitely mentioned it before. That whole sense of dread and just like you're never actually free of the event until it's done, and then you're like you're not really enjoying the thing that you've worked all week. I mean, you're there, and I'm getting better at it, and we're definitely building a better team and more experienced team around us. So I'm not just always dealing with shit that I'm probably not qualified to be even discussing. So that's great, but ultimately it's still. The shit hits a
you,
fan. It's my fan. I mean, it's
are
like I need that event to go. There can always be a power cut at any point, and that's my problem. That's
yeah.
my problem.
Are you good at hiding that? Because I don't know if I'm ready for like serious gaff. I don't know if I can take serious gaff.
My wife's a bit like, cause I'm like serious in the sense like I'm not a stamp around and like I don't get overly like shouting and bawling type of guy, but I'm like can be laser focused when I'm doing stuff. My wife's a bit like she does not like not getting my attention in the sense of not that she's some sort of like fucking psycho, but you're like, suddenly like she's not important to me in that that moment, and she'll be like,
Yeah.
"That's not how our marriage works." And I'll be like, "I mean, I've got fucking 10 different problems to deal with, and I've got tour managers screaming. I'll fall back in love with you in a minute, all right? Just let me deal with this fucking heartache that I've got over across here." So, aye, she's a
Well,
bit like fuck. Sometimes don't interrupt Gav when you see him with that face on when he's got to something. You can tell that he's away to deal with something because somebody's complaining.
I say this a lot to people in the summer, like, no one comes to your fucking work, do they? Like, everyone else gets to go to work. All my friends are at my work and they're drunk. And that is a weird thing. And sometimes when you're in a serious place for some reason, you don't necessarily need all your friends and family around you,
And
expecting
bizarrely,
you to be the same as you are the rest of the year.
And bizarrely as well, it's like not to downplay anyone else's role at any job, but I mean, you know, if you work in a call centre and you've got a call to somebody, if I was to walk into your job, like, all right, Jimbo, and hit you in the arm that when you're trying to sell a Sky package to somebody, you'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? This is just outrageous behaviour. Yeah, but
Yeah.
ultimately, if you don't do that sailing that, nothing's going to change the world. You start fucking trying to get me wasted, and I'm in the middle, and I'm responsible for the whole damnation. The fucking power goes. It could be hundreds of thousands of pounds in the line. You know what I mean, it's like I'd kind of just I get the other ones like people at 12 a.m. want to give you shots. Somebody's like, "Yeah, have 3 Jaeger bombs." I'm like, "That's the fucking last thing I want to do." I mean, any other
Mate,
day of the year, let's go.
that's
But I'm
I
not doing
don't,
that.
well, frankly, that is going to be me because I don't remember you easing off on me at fucking trees.
You can't ease off, and you wake up holding a can. But that's the luxury again of having fucking an army of people with you. So aye, it's all good. It's all good. Shall we talk about before we get into the question that shall we talk about Sick New World? That announcement, that
Yes.
huge announcement for the Las Vegas festival. A lot of people mentioned it in different bits. Like, oh, I'd love to get your take on it, get your take on it. So, what's your take on Sick New World, James? Well, in fact, tell people what it is first, and then give us your take.
Well, it's a one-day festival in Las Vegas that has got every fucking rock band in the entire universe playing it.
The one day.
Yeah, in one day. So just a small, Metallica, Linkin Park, Queens of Stone Age, Evanescence, Gojira, AFI, Ministry. I mean, Down, Melvins, Tomahawk, Meshuggah, Refused. It get Mastodon. It goes on and on and on and on and on. Now, I mean, it's absolutely obscene the lineup, and although there is some shit on there, it's mostly like cool bands. Like everyone's like, "Fucking hell, Tomahawk are back together," and like Cannibal Corpse and Glassjaw, and you know, it's pretty amazing. But I really, I really fucking hate these like all these day things that they've started doing where there's too many bands.
Yeah, I
Because what
mean,
is it? Is it just some stupid like money grab? Is it just like a sponsorship revenue making thing?
it
Because
doesn't. It
you
doesn't
can't
seem to
see all
make
those
any
bands. I
sense
mean,
though. It doesn't. As a promoter, somebody will think, right, okay, unless those tickets are 10 grand each, which I assume they're not, because I know people that go across do it. How's it financially viable? Because it's just not. You look at the bands and the fees that all the bands would demand. Unless the ticket price was obscenely high, it's not possible. So what is it? Is it an American tax write off? Is it Live Nation that do it? Is that one
it
bit? I
is
mean,
Live Nation.
somebody from Live Nation please come on and explain to us how this is possible, and then why is it one day? Because that's a 3 day, like that's a stone cold classic 3 day major festival crammed into one day. And I think that they even have need to have their stages revolving just to make sure that the bands can even get in the amount of time that's available. And there's still four clashes going at any one time. So what's it, why is it? Did they do two of them? Is it like did they sell the ticket twice? Is that why they force it on at one day, or is it? It makes no sense.
No, it's just rubbish, basically. Like, at the end of the day, Metallica, Linkin Park, Queens of Stone Age, Evanescence, they're all going to be clashing, or at least two. I mean, Metallica and Linkin Park presumably on at the same time,
But
I'm
the,
going to
the,
guess.
the worst one that ever done was the first when we were young, and it was basically appealing to that same fan base.
Yeah.
And you were getting it was four bands at the exact same time. Like so, you had your I'll use the example. So it was My Chemical Romance, AFI, Taking Back Sunday, and somebody else in it, of that ilk they used, and it was just well, how are you going to manage? I mean, if I went to an event and Mogwai, Explosion to the Sky, Mono, and This Will Destroy You were all playing at the same time, I would rather just not be there. I
It's a
mean,
riot, isn't it? It's like ridiculous.
it's just I'm like I'm no way because how can I watch any of these bands without knowing that I'm missing another three of my favourites that I've flown to Las Vegas for? It's just it'd be such a good answer. Like anybody behind this could come on and explain the reasoning. Because on one hand, it's the most spectacular thing that's ever happened, and then when you pick through the details, you're a bit like, ah, I did like 26 of those bands, but there is no way in the world that I could see any more than 13, 12 or 13 in the day, and I'm just, it's a bit frustrating.
I mean, there's definitely a thing in America where, so I feel a bit awkward talking about this because I am like not in my comfort zone here and I don't really understand it. But agents have talked to me a bunch of times about this band wants this fee to play 2000 Trees. And I'm like, well, that's mad. And they're like, yeah, but that's what they get paid in America. I'm like, yeah, but how? And like there's, in the UK, a band will walk away from a gig with 80% of the profit. In
Aye.
America, you can walk away sometimes with 105, 110% of what the ticket take is. So basically, they're generating money from like it's just like
Sponsorship
yeah,
from
it's
the
just
take the
basically
bar.
I think it's like beer sponsorship. Um and they're basically generating extra money and the bands are getting it. And I don't know, I actually don't know what this is about, but how the fuck they're affording that lineup for one day is just mad, isn't it? But
Utterly, and it's weird because I'd heard at maybe at the low level, especially when the metal touring bands, it was a real it was a real struggle across there. You were going across, you were getting pennies, and that's why all the bills were absolutely stacked. That's why you had your sort of like Converge, Neurosis, Amon Ra, Buds and Row all in the same package because it was a bit like it was the only way to put it together to try and get the fan bases to turn out anywhere that was in the big markets. But and maybe it's the case of when the bands they go up a few levels that the money is there. But aye, it's an odd one. I mean, when I first looked at it, it's a bit like, right, okay, as much as it's exciting, it was like Metallica, Linkin Park, Queens of Stone Age, AFI, Evanescence, Ministry, 311. I mean, I'd watch them at a festival. I'm certainly not going to fly to Las Vegas for them. But then when I said, right, okay, but it's only one day, about Napalm Death, Show Me the Body, Poison the Well, Refused, Mastodon, Gojira. I mean, I'd happily watch a bit of Mudvayne for nostalgia, Carcass, and then Acid Bath that we'll get to in a moment. You're a bit like, that's. That's a full day of music already. It doesn't matter if you're not really that fussed with 80% of this lineup because you wouldn't even be able to see it anyway.
yeah, it's yeah, we're not going to Las Vegas unless, of course, they got a podcast stage, in which case we're in.
Unless Cam's flying us out with him.
Deal.
So, Acid Bath, from our fan base's point of view, Acid Bath was the one crammed bizarrely in between Evanescence and 3 Days Grace is this band Acid Bath that have reunited and shocked the world, or certainly shocked our corner of the world. And then instantly the feeling is get them booked for Damnation. I'm sure you saw it for that advertisement. What's your opinions this? So I'm a wee bit embarrassed to say that these are one of the bands that definitely slipped between the cracks of me. And the first time I ever heard it, Acid Bath, was about 10 minutes before this podcast, a track called Cheap Vodka. They sound great, but that's about all I've got to offer on the Acid Bath
And
front.
I listened to them for the first time this morning. So I think it's tempting to think that promoters have listened to every band ever and they know everything. But the reality is we were just music fans for years, weren't we? And Acid Bath just, I mean, I vaguely know the name, but it's passed me by totally. It
It,
didn't sound that arctangent-y to me when I listened.
it didn't sound that hard tangent at me. Definitely sounds something that would work at Damnation, but then I get heavy botch vibes in the sense of is this one of the ones where the internet, the people that were really thought they would never see them are going crazy. But ultimately, how many Acid Bath fans is there out there? I mean, is it the same people that were screaming for 10 years that if you book watch, everything they touch will completely sell out and it'll be that? And that wasn't true, to be fair.
No.
And so I don't know enough about it. Maybe they played stadiums when I first came around. I doubt it. So, but Paul was one of the ones in that camp. He went away. Paul doesn't book bands for Damnation. He's trying to book he's trying to book Acid Bath for Damnation next year. That's how excited he was about the whole Acid Bath chat. So, I I assume if it's the return, insane amounts of money have probably been thrown at them to make it happen. Those insane amounts of money that this festival's clearly got to spend are not available at Damnation. I would be concerned unless you had a European exclusive and you were going to get every Acid Bath fan for across fucking the continent. Then I'd be a bit concerned about having to pay eye-watering amounts for a band that I don't really know myself. And I thought about this as well, like you're saying about um bands you know and you don't know. It's weird to me sometimes that the way that I came into this, and then the bands I went and listened to, and then you mention it, and I said, "Bah, for the fact I've never heard a full fucking Iron Maiden record, or I've never listened to a Judas Priest record, or I've never listened to a full Motorhead record," but yet I know the meaning behind Carbon Wings by the band Charger. You know what I mean? Like I just went down my own wee route and then found went off in tangents with bands and getting into quite extreme stuff here and some post rock and post metal here. And it was these bands that just kind of get left behind that never really. I think if I came through it through a parent or an uncle or another pal at school, and it was about like we all came in through Black Sabbath and Maiden and Judas Priest, I would have that same background. But for me, it was like Raging Speed, All Nine Men and Charger, and then off in my wee path to having quite commercial bands I love like Deftones and Nine Inch Nails, but also like being really excited about LLNN
Yeah, and the ratings.
and the ratings. And mate, bring it on, mate. What is it, the 432nd favourite band of the 2003's audience, and me, and me. If I was, I hope I was counted amongst that. So, aye, is that all you've got to say on the Mighty Acid Bath?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one of those ones I think if I'm probably not going out there chasing it, but if it came to me, I would definitely look at it in more detail. So if somebody got in touch, I've said this before, when bands are available and want to do it, I'm much more interested than chasing around these random things
Yeah.
that are just never going to happen. So yeah, we'll see, I guess. So we're not our new plan is not to do hour and 45-minute long podcasts, is it? We're hour and a half is our max.
Is our
So
max.
so let's should we talk about our mate Lou?
Let's talk about our mate Lou now. He's at the gig I was at last night with my mate Andy. He's so obsessed with the slap and pickle. He saw a picture of Lou producing a sauce that looked green. He's like, "It must be the slap and pickle. It must be the slap and pickle." And lo and behold, he re-released his slap and pickle. I have mentioned it before about being the one that's like it's absolutely world class in a burger, but a bit funky on anything else. So that is there. That is definitely one of the ones to say, go and give it up there with a honey banana it does now. You want something that's just completely different. It's not about being a hot sauce, it's about being a flavoursome sauce. It's got something different about it. The slap and pickle and honey banana are two that definitely tick that box. He is also getting himself prepared for Damnation, where he will have a stall. Lou is sponsoring the main stage on the Friday that Decapitated and the Ocean Discharge, Employed to Serve, and Insanity let play. So, firstly, thanks for the support with that, Lou. It's appreciated, and he will have a stall there over the weekend. So, bring a bag, get yourself lots of hot sauce, including the Damnation one when you are there. If you don't want to wait that long, or if you're not coming to Damnation, the other way to do it is Pod 15 on his site and grab your sauces there.
Great. Looking forward to hanging out with Lou at Damnation. That'll be good.
Yeah,
Or
it
Lou,
is.
because he sometimes likes to call himself.
Yeah. No,
Um,
he's Lou. Wait, mate, we'll fucking decide. He's Lou, right?
Loose.
Now,
Okay.
we have an issue with the Kofi. Just as we're building up a wee head of steam, I noticed there was the first message went onto the page like that the subscription had been basically the money hadn't been taken, had been auto cancelled, but it still sat there as an active subscription. So people weren't getting any notification, we weren't getting any notification that it was being cancelled, but nothing was being taken. So it was like for most of say if we had 70 subscribers, let's say 30 or 40 of them, no charge came out and so it started set up August, nothing came out in September, and now I've flagged it up to people that have went and checked and went, shit, there's actually a lot of us that this has happened to, which is a real kick in the balls because it's fucking great having that support, and then it's been taken away from you without anything changing. We haven't
Yeah.
changed. We haven't changed the URL. We never changed bank accounts. I don't know where it's come from.
No. So anyone who has subscribed, it would be great if you would go and check if it's still live. And we would love it if you would make it live if it's not anymore. And new people are always very welcome because
Yeah,
it's
yes.
it's great to be supported by you guys.
It is great, and as we said, we are this tour. It's become a wee bit more serious. I even thought when I first set this up, but aye, a wee bit of fun, and then you're about like, I'm going to leave the house for 6 days or whatever, and I want to be able to eat and hire a van or whatever we're going to do. So I'll pay more and more into the merch. So just bigger plans for this podcast. So we're not. We've taken the decision not to put anything behind a paywall. not to use Patreon like other podcasts do. And if you can't afford the money each month, then that's absolutely fine. But if you can, then fucking great. Please fire it in that direction. The Kofi, I got a wee bit. Well, first off, it was the tickets for damnation, which I fair enough, worth a shout. And then last week, obviously got a wee bit mental with your man Dan, who I'm hoping that Kev's away to try and sort something for.
So Kev has sorted something. Oh, let's do that offline now, otherwise everyone will fucking want.
Right, I want something he's got. So this retro ride's got in touch, and he was mentioning guests, which we're up for guests, but at the same time, we had a day's notice, and also I don't want to get in a situation where we've got this backlog of promises we can't keep. So I said to him, look, can we put that one in the back burner, and could you get a question or something for on the record? And the good man put something for on the record and also a recommendation. So we appreciate that. We will try to be creative. We want it to be interesting as well, but there's no point in us getting into a month-long Kofi backlog. I mean, the payments aren't even giving through at one side, and then us sitting doing dances to try and keep up with the demand. So yes, thanks for that. I will take someone out now for next week's. Which should be a bit odd because then we'll have the pod that comes out the Friday after that probably won't include this because that would be pretty fast turnaround. And it's a Paul Allison. So be creative, Paul, but not too creative. That's a new catchphrase for Kofi.
It's a hard, it's a hard rule to follow that. But yeah, great. Okay, should we do some questions? That's all we're here for. I
Bash
don't.
on.
So Andrew Goodberry says, would either of you consider having a label or other third-party curated stage whose lineup was totally controlled by them? And if so, who might you want to work with?
I mean, short answer to that is no. I'm not going to hand over the control 100% exclusively to anyone. So not total control the way he puts it, but definitely happy to work in sync with labels. Have done now for the last 2 years, Church Road Records and then Pelagic for this. But those two stages were booked by us, by me. I was like, these are the bands we want from this. And you don't get the first five, obviously, for availability reasons or financial reasons. But when you go into a sort of partnership with Church Road Records or Pelagic, you feel like it's almost like you can't lose because
Yeah.
they don't have shit bands on their roster. So you're a bit like, aye, quite happy to have any, but not to hand over just total control. I don't like the sound of that at all.
No, no, I mean, never. I just wouldn't do it. I think when we had the damnation stage, which we talked about, Arctangent number one, it was like it was a chat between us, and then I booked the bands that you were happy with, and you were happy to put the damnation name on the stage. And do you know what? I'd say I don't think I've ever talked about this because I was waiting for Robin from the Ocean and Pelagic to come on the podcast, but we've delayed that till another day now, so I'm just going to say it now. But that I had the idea of having a Pelagic stage at Arctangent. I fucking told him about it when the Ocean were playing in Bristol at the Fleece. And the next thing I know, there's a damnation Pelagic stage. And it's like, right, Gav's going to be saying I've nicked that idea, but
Mate,
it's like unbelievable. Because
good, good.
it's like Arctangent is basically Pelagic Fest. Um, but even then, I still want to listen to the bands. I want to decide how much they're going to get paid and what order they're going to play in and which ones I want on the lineup. There's only one that I can think of where I would maybe go on, off you go, and that is Ipecac, um, because they put out records by all of Mike Patton's bands, and I just want Mike Patton to come to Arctangent.
Yeah,
So I have actually approached Ipecac about doing this. I think they're too busy to really give a shit. But it's like the Melvins, Jesus Lizard. I mean, all the pattern stuff. They used to have Rolo Tomasi. Their roster's fucking amazing. But even then, I'd still want a bit of control.
yeah.
But on a
And
one-off
it's
basis,
weird as well because it gets. We're going to have a pod somewhere down the line with Roadburn, Becky and Walter for Roadburn, and I've always been interested in that because you're saying if you're properly letting somebody curate a day or a stage of your lineup, then they're going to do it from that point of view. But my feeling with that, if you ever let an artist go and try and book other artists, they're not going to do it with the promoter's financial hat on. So they're going to be like, oh, what's that? You need 40 grand below to Massey? Of course you do. That's what we should all get paid. And then next
Yeah,
thing you know, you're like, well, the stage is going to cost how much? You know what I mean? And they're not going to go like a Jacob Bannon's not going to be like, I'm going to go and play hardball with some guy's agent. Like, he's just not. He's not going to put
yeah,
himself in that position. So I'd love when they come on to have a chat about when they hand over that curation, just how much of it is actually hand over and how much it is them basically the person who's creating it going to them saying these are the 20 bands I'd like out the 8 or 9 slots you've got. Let's see what we can make work within the confines of the festival. What you do get from somebody doing that is like I'm sure with these artists you could get a lot of real good like bands that are just not going to play because an agent asks them or some
yeah.
faceless promoter that they probably think's a dick anyway. It's like, but then one of your mates that you grew up with or somebody that influenced you basically says, I'm asking you, can you guys can reform and come to a show? Absolutely, Jake. I will come back and do your show. You know what I mean? It's like there's a certain power to that opening the doors.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way Roadburn do it, it's like that's the proper like. That's not like here you go, curate our fourth stage. That's like they have a curator of the festival, not that books all the bands at all, but that will properly do like some big main stage stuff. So it's a big thing, isn't it? To let them.
Absolutely. But then that's the worst thing, isn't it? I mean, it is all in on the art, so it works well for those guys. Those
Yeah.
guys, interesting sort of industry conversation in there about you can't just let somebody run away with 300 grand of your budget to book some bands that might not sell tickets because the person who's curating it thinks they're the best band in the world.
No,
That's a dangerous thing for any promoter. You need to know in your head the difference between brilliant and sells tickets, and it's tough because sometimes your favourite band in the world, who you're desperate to get, don't sell tickets. And sometimes a band you can't fucking stand, but respected by others, do sell hundreds of tickets.
yeah, yeah. And ultimately, if we're really honest, if I'm really honest, I've got like the best job in the world. Why am I going to give it up? Like there's people that like work that I work very close with on the lineup that I've talked about on there before, like Matt and Miles and Mitch, and I'm sure they would all love to book stages and stuff. But I like ultimately I love their input, but and I'm sure you love Paul's input,
Yeah.
but ultimately, what a fucking privileged, amazing job that you've ended up with. I don't really want to give it away.
And here
Do you
we
know what I
are
mean?
on here bitching and moaning about billing and agents, you know what I mean? We should be thanking all those guys for allowing our pish. So I noticed when you put this together, you gave Andrew, this is what happens, you're allowed to put the plan. You gave Andrew Goodberry 2 questions in a row.
I don't know if it's a copy and paste error, but it either is or it isn't. Who knows? But go again, Andrew.
I know, but you better go the second time because I deleted it. 'Cause I was like, obviously, we're not going to give the same person 2 questions. You're like, no, no, I've got an answer for this, so I want to answer it. I'm like, okay.
Okay. So Andrew says, I've seen a lot of comments in the past few days about the oversold and dangerously overcrowded Arch Enemy gig at the O2 Academy in Birmingham. Can you give a promoter's view on how venues assess safe capacity and how this is managed? Well, so Ian Shaw, who Gav and I both know very well, and is the promoter of that show. He's a very successful promoter and booking agent in Birmingham. He got in a little bit of an argument on the two promoters, one group like Facebook account with the people saying it was oversold because in the wake of like the Manchester Arena bombing and when there's an explosion or a fire or some disastrous thing happens, you better hope you haven't oversold the show, right? Because you're all going to prison if you
Yeah,
have.
yeah,
And the reality is, promoters like Ian are not. Of course, he's not overselling the show. Um, I mean, he absolutely isn't. And he was pretty pissed off that people were suggesting it. I spoke to him quite a bit about this, and I also spoke to Miles about Bristol. And basically, capacity of a music venue is based on the amount of floor space, obviously, the amount
fire
of
exits.
fire exits that you can get people out of. You also need a certain number of toilets. Um, and it's basically the main thing is how long will it take to realistically get everyone out of the building? So there is a capacity, and it is very traceable for if there was a disaster of some kind, had they oversold it, it's very, very traceable because it's all electronic tickets nowadays. So
Yeah,
look, those shows are not oversold. And speaking to Miles and Ian, I think the problem is that the way the capacity is calculated is if it's sold out, it is fucking packed. If anyone's ever been to the O2 in Bristol, when it's sold out, it is packed, packed properly, properly horrible. Like you just sweating the moment you walk in there, and you
Yeah,
cannot move. You cannot get to the bar, and that is like the venue, not the promoter. The venues decide alongside the council how many people they can get in, and if the venue lets in, if it's a 2,000 cap venue, the venue could go, no, that's too busy. Let's do 1,800.
yeah,
But they're not. That no one's interested in people's comfort. And so this, I thought that it's quite interesting to talk about. There's a little quirk here, which is that the age of the crowd affects whether or not they care about this. So when Miles and me are putting on gigs in Bristol, sometimes you'll be like, wait a minute, these fans are 40, right? So they don't want to climb on each other. Some of them want some personal space. And not only that, guess what? They're all a little bit bigger than they were when they were 18, right?
yeah.
They're a bit more rotund than they
Yes.
once were, right? So sometimes we actually in Bristol we scale our capacity down and like instead of selling 400 capacity event, we might sell 380 to give people a bit more room. And I've got an example of me and Miles on a gig. I'm not going to tell you who the band was, but it was at the O2 Academy. It's a 1,600 cap venue, and we were going to sell it to 1,400 because it was an older crowd. And guess what the band and the manager wanted to do? They
What's
wanted
it?
to sell all the tickets. So they sold the extra 200 tickets, and it was horrible in there. The walls were sweating.
Yeah.
And there's like 1,600 40-year-olds just crammed in like sardines. So look, at the end of the day, it's not oversold. It's just like the council said there's the capacity. The
Yeah.
venue said
Health and safety
okay.
said there's
Yeah.
honestly, I've got so much. I'm glad I've asked this question there because I've said that sounds like quite a dull question, and now it's just you've brought back the horrors of my promoting. So it is like so we used Leeds University Union at the same time as Slam Dunk. Slam Dunk put on a small outdoor stage, a really small outdoor stage. It sat just at the front there. We had some food traders and sold to 6,000 capacity. We
Wow.
went twice to anything close to 4,000 and we're both times accused of risking lives, health and safety disaster. I mean, it's like 2,000 people less in the venue. This was the most stringent venue. They weren't fucking cutting a corner for anything. For anything. They were trying to fucking shut the festival down because Loic jumped off the balcony for the ocean. They weren't putting up with any shit. And they were like, 4,000 in this fucking venue is absolutely fine. The Cannibal Corpse played downstairs. It was heaving to the point of can't be able to move, right? And people felt, oh, man, this is uncomfortable. I'm at this festival and I'm an absolute jam. Cannibal Corpse fans are big fucking lads. Know what I mean? If it's not because they're a bit more rotund, they're just big fucking lads. Know what I mean? They've been at the gym. So it was that people like, oh, you were risking lives and you're like, there was somebody at the top of that step. You saw them when you passed. They had the counter. They people were never allowing it. Do you honestly think the venue gave a shit about whether extra people went to see Cannibal Corpse? They didn't. They knew what that could take, but you fill it to what is the full capacity, and you've got a bigger crowd than those teenagers that go to Slam Dunk, and people notice when they're getting crammed against. And I notice, believe me, I'm not complaining to people that. I notice when people are crammed against me. It gets uncomfortable, then you start to complain, then it feels dangerous. A mosh pit opens up in the middle, which is probably not put into the calculations when somebody's sitting there with a fire exit, that
Yeah.
somebody's going to do some massive circle pit and take away fucking a quarter of your floor space. I agree, but it was not, no one's trying to, I'm not saying that no one else does, but we weren't, Ian Shaw wasn't, Art Tangerant, Miles isn't trying to risk his freedom and go and do a jail sentence because you were trying to get a few extra quid. And especially in an 80-20 split, where that extra ticket sale, the promoter only gets the 20% and the band takes 80, you definitely not worth it. The worst, most busy gig I've ever been in my entire life was Alanis Morissette at the O2 Academy in Glasgow. You could not stand against the wall. It was so that women in their fucking 40s, men, just fuck it, honestly, I was at the bar, like at the back corner of the bar, and I knew sweat was dripping off. Sweat was dripping off the person in front of me, onto me. It was like, it was so hot, you could barely fucking breathe. And you're like, how is this happening? And at an Alanis Morissette show. But it was an older crowd, they were larger, and they sold every single ticket available, and it was fucking packed, totally uncomfortable. I didn't ruin the show, but I'd certainly like to buy back air conditioning in that time. So, aye, a lot of it's perception. That perception cost me £44,000 because I slashed the tickets were 44 quid. I slashed the capacity from 2014 to 2015 by 1,000 and then sold out and never had the opportunity to make that extra 44 grand if it had been to sell it in 2015. So, aye, I have felt the pressures, I've felt the anxiety, and sometimes you just need to accept it doesn't even matter what's reality or not. It's a perception of reality. And if people think they're in danger, I bet you need, as you and Miles are doing, it's better just to give people comfort and then they'll come back to your show. You're not doing the venue any good either because people are like, I didn't work with that venue last time I was fucking pinned against a sweaty wall.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And people do feel about the Bristol Academy a bit like that. It's just when it's full, fucking hell, you better get in early and get a good spot
Yeah, and
because it's
I've never been in Bristol Academy. Maybe that's a thing as well that the academy guys are very good at getting their capacity where the limit of the health and safety is. Because sometimes you go into some shows. I mean, I was at that Hell show last night at the garage. I was against the back bar, and I was getting bumped. I felt I was in a mosh pit for half of it. It was getting slapped about side to side, and like you literally couldn't go past me. So you can only, that's how busy that was as well. So I sold out gigs as 40-year-olds. They filled the space, unfortunately. They filled the
yeah.
space. And you know, like, you go to a sold out post rock show where everyone wants their own space for their scarf and to read their book. It's like fucking that's a tough slog as well, you know what I mean? And you're getting shushed as you go to the bar, you're fucking knocking the Lord of the Rings book out of somebody's hand and past their scarf. It's a hard one.
Good, 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 good.
Neil
Okay,
Henderson,
let's go.
you've lined this up to try and throw me under a bus. Don't
Yes, I
fucking
have.
I
Yes,
know
I
you,
have.
mate. I know you, mate.
Yes, I have.
No bus is coming for me, mate. No bus is coming. Neil Henderson, I'm unsure what Gav and James think about Sabbath. To be honest, I'm too afraid to ask. And I saw you say, I'm afraid to ask Gav. Fear not, people. Fear not. Just because I don't have a lot of time for Metallica and I don't like Iron Maiden or Judas Priest or AC/DC
Or crack the sky.
or Crack the Sky, I don't know how that get included in there, but I'll Crack the Sky. Black Sabbath make the cut, right? And they make the cut. Now, I'm not overly excited. I've never sat through a full Black Sabbath album, but I did go and see them in 2001 at Ozfest when I was a Tool and Slipknot and Mudvayne and Amen fan, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. I've seen them 5, 6, 7 times since at different places. I went to their final show at the end show at the Hydro. I love the bangers. I love the Paranoid, Fairies Wear Boots, Iron Man, War Pigs. But that's where it stops. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm like some big Sabbath fan. I'm not even like a huge Doom fan. So they kind of sit like with all those kind of Doom bands. I mean, I completely appreciate of those old pioneers, the classics. Those Black Sabbath are my favourite.
I mean, I think I'm really disappointed that you've given a good answer there. It's thrown me somewhat.
You are desperate for me to get thrown to the wolves again.
Good, 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 good.
But
Yeah, I mean, look, I love them. I, I don't know. I don't think there's any point telling everyone why Black Sabbath are great. If you've never listened to Black Sabbath, I'd recommend. Well, I think Paranoid is their best album, 10 out of 10. Masters of Reality would be my number two. Go and check them out. They're fucking, it's just basically they've got the riffs and they've got the songs. And I've I've seen them be ropey live because of Ozzy, and I've seen them be great live.
oh, yeah,
If
likewise.
Ozzy's singing in tune, or I mean, him singing in tune is always like on the edge. The beauty of his vocal is it's on the edge of where it should be, but when he's on it, it's fucking great. The last time they played Download was bad, um, but what a wonderful band! I fucking love them. And, and anyone ever gets a chance to see Bat Sabbath, which is Cancer Bats do Black Sabbath, they should watch them because it's fucking great.
Absolutely
Mm.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Absolutely. There's Branca Studio does the t-shirt. You ever seen it? The only thing you can trust is in life is yourself in the first six Black Sabbath albums.
yeah, yeah. Well, absolutely. But
Is
it
it
is true.
six or four? Where does it stop for Sabbath when it gets? Is it six or four? Six, I think.
Mm, yeah, I think it's probably five or six. So in my like geeky book club that we did Black Sabbath. We didn't do like the full catalog because I'm just not, or no one wanted to go.
Deal. No
It
one wanted
goes,
deal.
no, no, I think you, well, no, I think the Dio albums are they're different, but they've got a
Do you know
lot
it's
to be
something
said
about
for them. But
vocals? Something about vocals for me that this is definitely true. Like I am not an Anthrax fan. I don't like Joey Belladonna's vocals, but I saw him with John Bush, and I really thought it was excellent. And I definitely could never get into a Dio album or Heaven and Hell stuff or anything else. But with Ozzy, for some reason, I did enjoy it. There's something about there's just that type of vocal. I mean, that Bruce Dickinson and your man Rob Halford are perfect examples. I just can't do that vocal.
yeah, so you don't like more classic rock sounding stuff and more operatic stuff, and
Yeah.
but yeah, well, those I think it's two Dio albums, both fucking brilliant. But yeah, there's a lot of shit in this, or there is some shit in the Sabbath catalog. So yeah, just go early.
I'll ask you the next question. I was keeping this one up my sleeve for episode 52. I feel we need to make a big
Ah,
deal with episode 52 to be are we going beyond it? Is this the end? This is what it's supposed to be then. And I'd noticed that no one had asked, but Daniel Singleton is a man with his finger on the pulse. What was James's story with the police? He said he would tell it after the festival season wrapped up. Now I know that you're willing to answer that because you picked this question.
yeah, I'd forgotten. It's weird in the stress how you forget these things. But so basically, we announced our kids lineup. But if for anyone who's wondering what we're talking about, way back on the podcast, there was a time when I was having some situation with the police, and we talked about it. We talked around it without telling anyone what it was. So this is what it was, and so we announced our kids lineup at 2000 Trees, like what kids entertainment we were going to have, and one of the acts is called Drag Queen Story Hour, and it is a drag act telling kids stories, I think is the way they would describe themselves. They were in our kids area talking to the kids. And I think there are some right-wing extremists that sit at home with these search terms like drag set up in there. They get a notification on Google every day that someone's written drag on Facebook, and then they go and see who they can have a fucking go at the next day. Um, and basically, they got wind of this at 2000 Trees, and they started commenting. First of all, they started commenting on the Trees Facebook page. Then somebody got hold of my phone number and posted uh, on Facebook saying the guy who's booked this. I mean, they were saying some really terrible, appalling things about the person,
The artist.
about the artist. And they were saying about me, the guy who's booked this artist is like supporting sexual abusers and sex offenders. And here's his phone number. So
Yep.
they basically put my phone number on Facebook, and they were all fucking sharing it around. So we kind of knew it was we knew it was blowing up. And like Mitch had sent a message to everyone saying this is getting a little bit of traction. And what we normally do in that situation is basically like ignore the lunatics, just ignore them, and it will go away.
Yep.
I think everyone had missed, including me, that my phone number was doing the rounds. And then I started getting phone calls while we were being like, yeah, just ignore it.
Aye.
And I started getting phone calls, and then I was getting like multiple phone calls and like and threats and threatening voicemails and
Had you
threatening.
answered before you knew? Did you answer the first call when it came through?
No, and no, I didn't. And then so I never actually spoke to a human being. I just got voicemails and WhatsApp voice memos and but it was weird. Like there was a lot. I'm talking about like 30 calls an hour.
So you get some
And
fucking gammon for Bradford saying, I'm going to come down there and kick your cunt in, you big fucking pedo.
yeah, 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 basically. And they were saying they were going to bring 4 coach loads of protesters to 2000 Trees. Now, this act played at the Tate Modern Gallery in London, and you can Google it, you can go on YouTube and find it, and there is like some argy bargy, and they did send the protesters. So we're like, they're gonna send 4 coach loads of protesters to fucking Trees. Fuck me. And
You're
then
like,
my
sell them some tickets.
and my phone is just ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. And my wife's like asking me, are they going to come to our house? And I'm like, well, I don't fucking know. Do I just, I hope not.
Do you know how they got the phone number?
Well, so what he said in his Facebook post is I rang their I rang their lawyers and they gave me the number, but we don't have lawyers. So I don't know. Maybe they rang our accountant and spoke to like a receptionist or something and they gave them my phone number. You know, if you if you're minded to find out someone's
Absolutely. I
phone
mean, you can get
number,
my number.
yeah,
You probably get my number quite. I think it's in the signature when you're dealing with agents, and that must go out to for God knows how many people. So,
yeah,
it wouldn't be that difficult.
yeah. So it was all a bit leery, and like so I had to report it to the police, and it was like genuinely like stressful, and genuinely Lizzie was like really stressed by it because it's not
Rightfully so.
nice. It's fucking not
Fucking not
nice.
nice. Getting
And
threatened for
I mean,
people
it'd
on
be
the internet.
horrible being, yeah, being the act. But by the way, none of these fucking pricks turned up. The act, it was absolutely packed and went down brilliantly, and that was really amazing to see. And so I reported it to the police, but it dropped off a cliff really quickly. They find someone else to if you don't engage with them, they find someone else to bully. And we just ignored them, and I ignored them, and it went away. And it's a weird job. I was like saying to like Si and Rob, it's like this is on everyone, but I'm the one's phone number that's fucking doing the rounds. Like we all run the festival, but
Yeah.
because of the way that
Aye.
I'm the because I book the bands and I do
Aye.
the podcast or whatever,
Aye.
I'm the
No,
one
I
who's
mean, you're
getting
right. I
it.
mean, I want to make joke it and say, at the end of the day, you take all the credit, but I'm not even, I mean, that is a serious situation. You shouldn't have been put through that. It's a fucking absolute shambles. And aye, you're right, bunch of fucking Tommy Robinson gammons, like then, and they can be dangerous. It can get. It's odd because my experience of that come from the other side, for the extreme left. It was like, oh, you booked a black metal band that we deem racist, so you're a fucking Nazi, and we've got your email address now, and we're going to protest at your festival, and we're going to contact all your sponsors, we're going to get cancelled because you're a fucking racist. And you're like, you don't know fucking anything about me.
We
You don't even know anything about black metal. I mean, like, you're being used by somebody who wants to use you, and ultimately, it's like, as soon as, I mean, I went back, I treated it with the respect I felt it deserved at the time. But as soon as you go back to the guys, well, this isn't some fucking guy that's actually trying to put up swastikas at his festival. He's like, we are getting the piss taken out of here. Somebody's been on to us and be like, oh, this is all happening. And a lot of it was just sensationalized, and some of it was just downright lies. It just fucking lying. People saying that people were coming to the venue that just weren't going to be there, and phrases that weren't never in t-shirts and that kind of crap. And you're like, I got it. Got. I mean, doesn't take a lot of people, because I think it only takes one or two people actually be. In my experience with that, it only was one or two people who were actually making any sort of fuss. But as soon as you get on to extreme right or extreme left, they've already got the platform in place to like light that match, and the rest of them just follow suit. Like, no, there's no questions asked. Like, no one's really that bothered about the truth. It's more like, let's just get some fucking likes on Twitter, or get a coachload of people with cans of carling and go and protest somewhere. No one's actually trying to get to it. I mean, a lot of people are just like, ah, fuck, we'll just get really wound up about something, and then as soon as something else there, we'll move on.
when you say faces on quotes on t-shirts that were never really real, that rings totally true with this because with the drag queen story hour, they just like faked the right wing extremists had faked these social media posts to basically look like this person had done something that they had never done.
Yeah.
Things that they just it was all totally fabricated, and it's just weird, isn't it? It's just
It's
basically
weird.
like
I mean, I know there's a whole thing about the snake starts to eat itself once you go and it gets that one. It's like, ultimately you get to the same. If you're in fucking Nazi Germany and somebody goes, you better have Mein Kampf on your thing, where I'm going to come in there and we're going to cancel you or fucking kill you, and then you've got somebody saying, you better black out your square on Instagram for Black All Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter, or we're going to cancel you. You're a bit like, well, how did we get the two people with the same fucking, you must believe exactly as I believe, and if you don't, you're in the wrong, and I mean, that's definitely. I don't know if anybody was faking stuff, but it was definitely. There was a lot of bullshit, a lot of lies that were just getting spread about. No one knew more about booking that band than I did in the fucking planet, and there was a lot of lies about it, and a lot of people in the industry that are just. It's easier for them just to either accept it, believe it, and then push that agenda for themselves, because you get that whole sort of, I don't know, that Twitter love heart, or somebody pats you in the back and says, "Oh, you're being," because so there's a lot of bullshit. A lot of people caved really easily, and ultimately, what did it come down to? Nothing. Nobody showed up. Nobody moved on and went to find their next cancel culture fucking victim.
did you suspect it was going to kick off when you booked them or
I thought there was definitely going to be a conversation. I'd probably surprised me more because I see myself as part of that political wing, being left wing. I see myself as I mean, I'm an SNP voter up here. It's all very much fucking pro-immigration and pro students and pro fucking free healthcare, free travel, pay your taxes, your duty pay. Like I see myself as part, and then those people that I identified with, well, like we will see you lose your fucking livelihood in a day and be delighted, and we'll know nothing about you, and we'll get your work email and we'll email you, and it'll all be anonymous, and it was just. And then I saw
Oh
just how,
man.
like, you see, I didn't want to get into this for this length, but you see how, like, how little there's no level to the conversation. Like somebody down the street shouted that you were a racist, so you must be a fucking racist. And that's it. And really, that's the level of it. And the amount of people actually buy into that. And then the journalism involved in it as well. I mean, I say journalism, but you get some websites like these websites will just write your Brooklyn vegans and stuff like that. They're just like, someone said somewhere it was reported that it said that on Twitter, so it must be like fucking take 10 seconds to investigate any of it. Give you a right to reply. I mean, we're getting stuff was getting written like there was no right to reply. Like just basic day one journalism, fucking junior reporting stuff. It was just. Aye. But anyway, I am not. I'll give some context to this conversation, and you remember that space you were in at the time, like some anonymous person like trying to take apart something you've built for 18 years, and they don't even know you. It's like it was a lot.
Yeah, I don't really deal with that sort of shit that way. I don't like it. I don't want my job to be where I don't want that
Aye.
level
And
of
you
like
can't
fucking
pander to the far right because you do that. Then next thing you know, trees is just on their fucking tick list. Next year it'll be we don't like the fact that there's a non-binary person there. So what's that promoting? And next it'll be we don't like the fact that somebody's promoting drugs in one of the songs. And next thing you're just a whipping boy. And that would have been if I'd pandered to the left wing and their nonsense. It would have been that. It's just every single booking. It'd have moved for that band to Winterfell, and then Winterfell if the Emperor, and then Emperor on to Sean. Because ultimately, you want to make a case for you should never book a Sean. You can do it pretty easily, and you can go and convince some Antifa mob that you're racist because you're booked to Sean. But it will never stop. There's a site somewhere that says anything you book is black metal fundamentally is racist. It's just at its core, it's racist. Like, well, you just can't get too far left to the person that's the farthest left. Moving on, James. Moving on.
wow. Okay. Dave Moss Morris says, I've got a question on off the back of the episode on tour managers. When does a booking agent's job finish and a tour manager's job begin? Gav mentioned the tour managers sort out the technical shit, but is this normally advanced to the booking agent and then passed to the tour manager? Basically, do you deal with booking agents until the day of the festival and then tour managers on the day?
It's a lot like everything in this industry in the type of that sliding scale and different. You get managers, agents that are really hands on almost to the day and then they're in the day itself. And you get booking agents that almost leave the process after day one. And it's that sliding scale. But so, I mean, some tour managers get hands on quite quickly. The thing with a tour manager is often they'll get the work when the tour's only a couple of months out. It's not like a tour manager, like a Luke Bell situation where, like, say, Red Hot Chili Peppers, where he might be on retainer and he's like, he knows whatever's come up for the next 3 years. It's going to be, if you be like a Tom Begley or a John Helps, you might get the word a month out. So you wouldn't even know that the band you're about to tour manage for 6 weeks, that you were dealing with any of the events. You know what I mean? So the booking agent gets everything all tied up. If they've got an assistant, they'll go through the rest of that process. And then when it gets into the nitty gritty of where are we going to come and park the bus? Is the catering rider going to be there? Is it going to be a buyout? Are you going to have the towels? I mean, the booking agent's largely not doing that. All the assistants doing that. That's the tour manager who's making sure that that show's set up for them in a day when they arrive at your event.
Yeah, yeah. I think if you're like if you were to like teach a student of like that was learning about the music industry how it is, the booking agent does books the show with the promoter and does the contracting and chases payment, but then everything is passed to the tour manager. So the all the planning for the day should be the tour manager. But Gal's right, that isn't necessarily how it is because every tour manager and booking agent does it in a slightly different way. And actually, often bands fuck about for ages where they haven't got a tour manager.
Yeah.
So
Or
and there's no one to talk to, and
or
you
you get
just
an
don't know
over
who to talk
controlling
to.
member of the band the tour manager's trying to do his or her job, and then you've got an overcontrol member of the band, they may have a relationship with you, and then they're trying to get in the middle of it, and it can all get a bit messy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but mostly you're dealing with tour managers. And if you get a call from the agent, whenever I'm standing in the field, like putting up fencing or banging in stakes or whatever, and my phone rings and it's a booking agent, I always know something bad's happened. Like the communication between artist liaison and tour manager has not gone exactly the way they want it to. No, you
Yeah,
can't have the timpani or the gong.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then that's where the
So
booking agent comes
I
in.
exactly because that's good because that's the retrospect. That's again back in other directions because what a tour manager will come and they'll fight the case to the best of their ability on the day. But ultimately, the deal's been done by you and the booking agent. So if a tour manager phones you on the day of your festival, they might be saying, "We're at the gates, where's the passes?" If the booking agent's on you, it's like, "Mate, we were supposed to be 2 slots up and I've only just realised." Where's the second dressing room? So I hope that answers your question, David. Rudiger Fish, okay? If you could go back in time and see any gig from any band anywhere, who would you choose and why? I felt like we answered something quite similar to this, but maybe not. So who you must have gave this some thought. I love the geek answer. Tell me.
Well, my memory's shit, so I am going to start putting in the same questions. In fact, someone needs to go back through the Facebook thread and hide the questions
Yeah. You
we've
don't actually
answered
you
because
don't actually have you don't have any power on that group, do you?
I don't know if I'm an admin or not.
I don't have for it wouldn't make any difference because you wouldn't
That's
fucking do
great.
anything
You need
anyway.
to do it. Lovely. It's your job.
'Cause you went to, it was like the magic fucking puppet master is setting up that Instagram, and I'm sitting answering on the fucking. It's like you're right, Rob. You done me an absolute peach. But we do need to go back through that because there's plenty there that have been, and it's going to start to get a wee bit muddy. So
It is hard to remember whether we've answered questions or not. I don't think we have. And look, you can answer this question in about a million ways. And this is my answer. I want to go back to relive the first Mars Volta show that I ever saw, which was in 2003 at the London Astoria. Now, I wasn't sure if I was going to tell the exact story that happened here, but basically, I was with my very my best mate Brendan, and we smoked a spliff before the gig, and we went into the gig, and it was literally like a religious experience. But at some point, I blacked out, and we were right at the front, and Brendan had to haul me out of the venue. So if someone was to say to me, "What's the best gig you've ever been to?" I would say it was that one, and I missed the end of it. And I would like to go back. They only played songs from their debut album. This is like, if you're a Mars Volta fan, fuck me. It's like a 6 song, hour and a half set of D-Louse in the Comatorium. And I managed to make it the one gig. I've never whited at a gig ever. In fact, I don't really.
no, you moved it. It was only twice it's ever happened. The
I,
Apple and this one split.
Sure.
Isn't that right, Joe?
I am. Well, look. Oh, man. Thanks, Gav.
I'm trying to save you.
You brought
I'm,
my
try-
mama.
I'm actually trying to take the spade out your hands.
Genuinely, this is the truth. I don't find that marijuana and live music mixes very well, so I don't do it. I'm not interested in doing it. But I did in 2003 at the London Astoria, and poor old Brendan missed the gig because we were in the corridor, fucking like me being a big
I
mess.
tell you what,
So
there's not very often someone gets the opportunity to go and see any gig anywhere in the world and chooses a gig they've been to. That
no,
is the most James Scarlett answer ever.
well, it's the greatest band of all time and one of the greatest venues of all
Mate,
time.
number 71 in the Spotify playlist, just accept it. Marginally more popular than ratings.
Come on then, let's hear your answer.
I'm gonna take advantage of this properly and not go and see something I could see next week. And I would love to see Nirvana. I'd love to see Nirvana. Now I know the most obvious answer would be the famous Reading set, but I'm pretty sure they played the QMU in Glasgow. And then when they were due back to play the Barrowlands, which would have been the show to get to, Ed cut a Dybren. So I would choose to see Nirvana and it would be the QMU show. No idea what the set list would have been that time, but it'd have been great to fucking. I'm sure it would have been a great show, and then it was there. Will Tellers and the in the forum or the comments. So, aye, that would be. I'm not that. That's not like I'm the biggest Nirvana fan in the planet, but it's definitely one of the ones where that can never happen. So I'll take advantage of that time machine and go and check that out.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I tried to get a ticket. You know, they cancelled a because it all went wrong for him in Europe. They were on tour in Europe, and I tried to get tickets for that tour, and I would have been still under 18 at that point, I think. I can't remember what year he died, but
96, I think.
yeah. So okay, so I was 18, yeah. I tried to get tickets for their tour, but couldn't get one. And the tour never happened. So it was a good answer, Gav. Good answer.
Thank you, James. Appreciate that.
Okay, last question, before we make it a 3 hour pod. Ash Bebbs says, as a festival punter, I've had a few moments over the years where, due to poor weather, I've gone, you know what? This is messed up. I might have to pack up and go home. I've never followed through on this, and music always convinces me to stick it out. As promoters, have you ever had a moment where you thought, I'm done, I can't do this anymore? You know, what was the moment and what brought you back the following and kept you going?
I feel like, well, we've mentioned the 1349 burning the guy's, singeing the guy's eyebrows before in Damnation 2007. That
I
was
love
that.
this story though.
This is the low. That was the lowest step. That was definitely like, this is what's happening here. Am I going to jail? I mean, 'cause at that point, yeah, what am I, 25? I've really put on 3 shows my entire life. All 3 of them have been Damnation. These fucking guys have went out and done something massive and all, but that's not going to stand up in court. If this guy was American, he would have sued us, and Damnation probably would never have happened again after that. Fortunately, he was British and just shit happens the way as good Brits do. And aye, I felt honestly that Brett in 2007, it was a fine Damnation and there was some fine sets in it, but there was so much that just didn't work in that venue. It just wasn't built for an event like Damnation. And I was remember being out on the steps and I could have burst into tears there. I was like, this is a fucking done all year. I mean, that was back in the days when you were pounding the streets of Manchester, handing out flyers and using MySpace and like really fucking grinding for ticket sales. It wasn't like, aye, let's throw another 100 quid at it on Meta with some dark ad. So I just feel like this cannot be the way. This cannot be the answer. You can't put all this time and effort into something and then just some band randomly does something and then you feel like whole fucking world's collapsing. That's the bad one. I've,
Hang on. When you say he singed his eyebrows, what was
so
it like? I mean,
so he's
how
get
bad was it?
it was super. It was all superficial. But believe me, at that time when someone goes or whatever's happened and it's caught your face, I bet it doesn't feel superficial at the time. I bet it feels like I've just had my face set on fire. And whether it's for half a second or fucking a second, it feels like, hey, that's not what I never came to get set on fire. I came to watch
No.
some black metal. So, aye, the guy was a fucking legend. I remember saying at the time, like, mate, you can have guest lists for life. You know what I mean? 'Cause just the way that he'd handled it. So, if he's ever listening to these and ever wants to go back to Damnation, I will honour that. So, aye, that was a particular solid low. There's been plenty of wobbles almost at every single event where you're just like your stomachs and knots. The entire like something like Damnation 8 remember as well, like the entire it's all on me. It's all on me. I don't have anyone that, like, Paul's a fucking hero. My wife's a hero. Like, but the responsibility, the arrow's pointing to you if the power cut goes. The arrow's pointing to you if the band refuses to go on stage. The arrow's pointing to you if the fucking bus breaks down in the M6. You're responsible, and it's your fucking money, and it's your event, and you get stuff where just things aren't going right. And you just feel like the fucking weight of the world on your shoulders. And I try to be like, it's just a music show. Even if it was to get cancelled at this day, and even if I never made any money for it, it isn't life and death. It's not like we're not in a hospital ward here. I'm not brain surgeon. But at that moment, it just feels like the whole fucking world's on your shoulders, and you can't get a simple fucking problem dealt with. And you're just like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this? And then all the good shit happens. Because it's the 1% it's the bad bit, 99% it's the great shit, the great
Yeah.
bands, the great performances, fans loving it, people having a time, people fucking, I know what it sounds like an IKEA poster, but people make memories. I mean, getting engaged at your festival, fucking having a honeymoon at your festival, cancelling a honeymoon so they can go to your festival, having bands play that they thought they would never see because you made the deal happen. That stuff you're sitting there like fucking feel like a god, you know what I mean? And not in an arrogant way, I mean like this is spectacular. I feel like we've I feel like I'm achieving something great here. So I always wobbles. Sure, there'll be one this year too, where you just feel like the pit of your stomach's going to fall out. But you always get, because you're a bit like, it's James, it's also the best job in the world. Well, short of playing up front for Celtic, it's the best job in the world. And you're like, aye, what have you got to moan about? We're not fucking, I'm not back 15-year-old washing dishes for £3 an hour.
Well, look, I mean, fucking hell, yeah, that tugged on the heartstrings. I think it is difficult when you're a one man thing, so the buck does stop with you. So I can really feel that because I've got a team. I don't mean I've got a team. You've got a team as well, but I've got actual people who own the business with me,
Yeah.
and that's a different feeling. You've got a different level of support. Just to be clear though, you've got 12 months. If the podcast is still going in 12 months' time, we're doing live at Damnation. I don't want to hear any fucking shit about. I don't want to hear any
Mate,
excuses. We're doing
damnation,
it.
mate, damnation will be able to afford this podcast in 12 months. Mate, this fucking podcast is taking the sleep token approach. I was talking to my pal last night about that gig, and he was, oh, what's happening with the tour and that? And I said, aye, and this is the sort of fees that we're trying to get anyway. He almost crashed the car. It's like the guy's been in a band for like 10 years. He's like, you fucking what? Sorry, mate. We don't decide who tunes in. I mean, at the end of the day, as we sit here right now, we don't even know if we'll sell a ticket. But there's a lot of hope.
Mate, it's happening. So I think probably people are wondering. I don't know if they're wondering or not, but the tour is we've now seen like a rough routing for the tour from Hayden, and yeah, I think we're close. We're close, and then once it's done, we're going to announce it pretty quickly, and then tickets will be on sale. So yeah, it's exciting. And then we're going to get Hayden on, and we're going to talk about how we've planned the tour. Fuck.
Hayden's not committed to this yet, but I mean, I think if you take the role, you need to take the responsibility. Come on and fucking talk it through.
I don't think we're asking him, "Do you want to come on?" We're saying, "This is the date. Here we go." Part of the role. It'd be good.
It's
So
part of the role. So that sounds like it's going to be, it looks like March. Aye, when that does happen, please fucking support us from the date because we're going to be nervous wrecks about no one coming out and everyone fucking people that we know, people we're close with that are putting money in the line to make this happen. So please, everyone, play their part. And I think the plan will be a part two if it's successful of the other cities that there's also interest in. And if you're listening to this, well, you will be listening to this because why else would you have made the offer? Thank you, thank you. Honestly, it's like the idea of getting genuinely, we pay fees, so we know what a fee is. We know what a decent fee is, and the idea that people want to pay that, and there's an interest to put us in some decent venues, and people really going out their way. It's appreciated.
yeah, absolutely. If Miles and Ian could add an extra 25% on the fee, that would be appreciated. But apart from that, all good. So my answer to Ash's question is we've mentioned in the past about 2000 Trees 2012, but literally the day before that started, I sat in a room with the other five 2000 Trees organizers, and everyone was just like, the look on people's faces was basically like, this is like, is it going to happen? Are the gates even going to open? Is this like the end? And the whole festival it was so wet, so muddy, but like not an inch of mud, like a foot and a half of liquid muddy. It was so dark and so fucking scary and horrible. I just wanted out. I never wanted to do it again. Needed because Simon's going to like this. I'd forgotten this. This just came to me, but that was 2012, right? Arctangent started in 2013, and basically when Trees 2012 finished, I was like, "Fuck festivals, fuck this." Basically, I'm not starting Arctangent. No way. What we just went through, and it's definitely Simon that was just like, "Come on, we
Let's
can
do
do
it.
it. It'll be fine." Little did he know we were going to another 10 years of rain.
The wettest part of the UK for a
Yeah.
decade solid.
But yeah, that just came back to me. But Simon definitely was like, made me do it.
I wonder if Simon could go back to that conversation now, having had all those wet years. Like, right, James, let's just 2,000 trees looks like a banker. Let's just stick with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, that was dark, but we're still here. So The,
You do it. You find your love
the,
for it, don't you? It's like you ever go on a long trip somewhere and the travelling shite and you lose a suitcase and the wains are fucking bickering at you and you're like, oh, this is the worst thing in the world. And then you go back and you remember all the good bits about the times in the pool and the holiday and the sun and the beach and the rest of that stuff sort of melts away. And like
Absolutely.
suddenly, 3 years later, it's like the best holiday you ever had. That's the way you think it, and you don't even remember that fucking meltdown you had in the airport. The festivals are a bit like that.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
that, yeah, I know that me and Paul went through hell at Damnation 2019, but I look back at that poster now, and Paul probably does the same. Like, what a great year that was! I mean, it's like you just forget about the lift being broken and the bus not getting being powered, and all that shit disappears, and you remember the fact that oh, how fucking great was that set? How good was it having OPEF on our main stage? Or like you just the good stuff shines through.
Well, you'll never meet anyone that was at 2000 Trees 2012 that doesn't think it's funny
I was
because
there.
because we've all been through it. And like we're like, oh, do you remember we were stood in the bar on the last night and we did like a lock-in in the bar on the last night, and you literally like it's nearly knee deep, the mud. And that did not seem funny at the time, but now everyone just thinks it's a
Aye,
funny
you
story, isn't it?
survived it.
So
You survived
yeah,
it, and I
yeah,
suppose that you
yeah,
feel part of that community and the stories to tell for it. So, aye, no, it's we appreciate what we've got, even if it can be tough at times.
yeah.
Talking of festivals and talking about good chaps, my good friend Darren. Now, can you imagine, right, asking to be a sponsor? Because I approached Lou at the very start, but since then we've mentioned that there could be sponsorship opportunities, but I've never approached them. It was Darren that came to us with Meliora in his app. Now imagine he gets on right, okay, and for a small company like them and try to get started, set up, it's like, right, okay, we're going to invest what will probably be decent money for them into this podcast. The first advert, I got his website wrong. It's Meliora.events, not Meliora.com. So the first message I got, and I thought it went quite well. I was like, the first message I got back from him, mate, it's Meliora.events. I was like, I sort of styled it. I said, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Ultimately, the people that you're trying to reach, they'll find a way. They're not going to be put off by the fact this isn't like your ticket buyer looking for something to complain about. These people put on festivals. They'll find you if they want to find you. And who came in a lycra pants and a cape? Catherine from fucking Radar was like, I'm looking for to speak to you. And I was like, boom, there you go. Don't even worry about the .com or .events.
No way.
Catherine Fareda is sorting it out. So one ad, hopefully, one other festival on board. I'd mentioned a few of the UK festivals that could take advantage of this fucking fantastic app. And it is genuinely a fantastic app. It's smooth as, and it's got a lot of gadgets on there. A lot of gadgets I don't even know what to do with yet, but we will figure them all out and we will take advantage of them. But if you're a European event, if you're Andre from Amplifest, if you're Freak from Soul Crusher, Walter and Becky for Roadburn. Can you imagine an artistic minded event like fucking Roadburn? I mean, they would run amok with an app like this. So it doesn't have that's the beauty of technology in it. You don't need to be sitting in the same country. If you guys need an app or would like an app, then Meliora.events or give me a shout and I'll put you in touch with Darren. So let's support this guy. He's got a cracking app there. It's doing wonders for Damnation. And finally, I mean, I don't want to chuck about too many numbers, but a few years ago when we asked, like someone else, like the figure was like the 10 grand mark. Darren's app is not 10 grand, so it's more in the price range you can do for events our size. That's all I have to say about that.
I hope he approved the last sentence you just said. You've
Well,
negotiated with
Darren,
Dan
all I
there.
said was less than 10 grand, mate. If you get somebody for 9,999, then bash on.
Good, 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 good. Okay, on the record, let's do it. Do we have a super sub one this week?
We do, we do. So that was our man Retro Ride, who then came back and said, this is the kind of chap he is as well. He came back and said, can he have pressure by a small UK band, his words, small UK band, Plantoid. So have you heard this band? Know of them?
Say the name again.
Plantoid.
No.
So we'll need to check that out.
Yeah,
They will be
absolutely.
added. I assume that they'll be in that art tangent world, or maybe he just went off in one and just wants to add something completely wild. So let's all go and check out Plantoid together. He did shout out another band, New Kingdom, and the track was Unicorns Were Horses. Now this doesn't, it's not on streaming, so he was like, he was keen for people to go and check that out. If you are in the mood for going to try and find some new music, apparently it's on YouTube, but not on the stream sites. New Kingdom, Unicorns Were Horses. But we will all add Pressure by Plantoid onto our On the Record. And thanks for coming up with something else here, because the last thing we need is fucking 15 coffees that we're already trying to get on top of the subscription nightmare that's at one side of it, with having all a backlog of what we're trying to do. Although I want to know now when we finish this conversation what this guy's getting for Kev, because whatever he's getting, I want it too.
You would want it. You would want it.
See, this is what I mean. Get yourselves in the coffee, right? Because it's just, I mean, if nothing else, fuck, some guys walking away with £150 damnation 2-day ticket, whatever this guy's getting. But please stick to On the Record and ask a
Yeah,
question.
you're making it worse. You are making it worse.
I know, but I thought myself, like, fuck me, man, this is pretty class. I'm going to go and sign up for the coffee myself, see if I can get something at the Art Tangent Warehouse. What have you got for us, James?
Okay, so look, this is fucking big, right? If you're into heavy and weird music, then what I'm about to say, you either know about already or you need to fucking get on, because there's something mad happening in this world, and that mad thing is called blood incantation, right? I know, Gav, you're fucking on this already. So, Blood Incantation have just released a new album, which is fucking wildly good. It has 2 songs on it. I mean, Spotify splits it into like 6 tracks. There's 2 songs. It's 45 minutes long. It's like, so also, sorry, if you're not into crazy progressive heavy music, my mate Tom, who's listening, does our
The Apple one.
Tidal
Yeah,
Tidal
Tidal, Tidal.
playlist. Yeah. This is still for him, right? So if you like interesting music, I want you to go and fucking listen to this band, because it's basically the best thing ever. It's going to be in everyone's album of the year list. It's going to be in my top 5, definitely, even though it's only been out 2 weeks. What a fucking band. They're basically mixing, like, it's essentially death metal with like a big chunk of Pink Floyd, and then just throwing every other thing they could fucking think of at it. But it all like cohesively fits together, and I just think is like they're like they're like the breakout left field heavy band. And this is the weird thing about it. Bands that I normally talk about like this is like Inter Armour, Sumac, Aranzi, Pazuzu, and all those bands are super niche. But something mad has happened. Like Tomb Mold, super niche. Fucking horrendous, super niche. Everything's niche, but something mad has happened. The Matrix has been broken. Blood Incantation have fucking taken off. There's like the streaming's mad. That they are going to be the next fucking, I don't know who, imagine Opeth in the early 90s. No one could see what was going to happen. I feel like this is something like that. It's just, they're fucking great. They're
I
just
can
amazing.
I can hear Bruno, their agent, literally fucking going, kitching, kitching. Hey, come on, James, give it the beans.
Look, seriously, everyone needs to go and listen to this. I would love to hear what people think of it. Give it like, it doesn't matter what music you listen to. If you're into vaguely interesting music that's going to expand your mind, go and listen to it. Don't be put off by, because there's some heavy shit on there.
Because obviously you're saying the 2 songs, but it gets split into 6 by Spotify. So what do you want on the record? Just the first tune?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, feel free to put number 1 of 6 on. That would still be fine. But you can put 1, 2, 3 on if you want, and that's the song. I'm not expecting 23 minutes.
Right. Okay.
Have you listened to this?
I've heard a bit and it is good, but see, the thing with Blood Incantation is we had them booked on the poster for was COVID year 2020. They were on the poster, they were booked for Damnation to Play. And that for the now this is it's now, as you're saying, it's poking its head out of our world and into like, oh, let's go and find a fan base and play big venues. But then it was just like they were proper still niche. They were going to support. I mean, what a package that was, James. Wolves in the Throne Room, Blood Incantation, Bell Witch. That was it, and it was like, I mean,
Wow.
you can barely book a band now for the price of that entire package, and it was what 4 years ago. Jesus, man, the good old days, as I like to refer to them. 2020 is the good old days, as I like to feel. So, aye.
They were not the good old days.
No, they weren't the good old days, but they are. And to show the supportive pod we are, they are playing Incineration, Stephen Moss's event down in London. Now, I'm assuming what's going to happen is like Catherine and Joe will book us two promoters, one pod to do Radar. So we'll probably be at Radar anyway. And then Stephen will probably book us somewhere to do two promoters, one pod at Incineration. So we'll just go and we'll see all these bands when we do that anyway.
I'm totally open to that. Thanks, Stephen. Good to I'm in. But look, so Blood Incantation's monthly listeners on Spotify is 256,000.
Yeah.
So I would challenge you to go and find another band that is really left field and heavy and check what that's fucking mad.
I mean,
Like
type in just now,
even
which I'm doing it.
even Opeth is 800,000. So like a band, a
And that's
proper
OPEF right now.
proper
Oh, fucking, I mean, people are going mental about OPEF right now. I mean, Andy himself was talking about, but like, them, type in the Mars Volta,
mate. Me and you eventually are going to come to blows over the Mars Volta,
mate,
just because you can bench press more than me.
considerably more.
Um, 376,000. So it's not.
Not a
It's in
kick
the
in the
ballpark. It's in the ballpark.
fuck. We're turning into the fucking Blood Incantation PR team.
Yeah.
Well, they're not doing Art Tangent next year, mate. They're just not. So don't pretend yourself they are. And what was the next? Aye, so we'll be at Incineration and we'll go down, we'll see a bit of in Blood Incantation and Triptychon doing Celtic Frost and Conjurer are there. Jeez, I'm turning into the fucking Incineration PR. So,
Good.
on the record for myself, God, I can't live up to that. But talking of the monsters of Spotify across all streams, Russian circles, and I feel that Conduit is quintessentially Russian circles. Just start the bass of the guitar, whatever pedal that person's using to do that, it starts like a supercar's revving. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
you get all the layers of Russian circles that some people think it's the edge of where post rock goes before it becomes post metal. Some people think it's post metal. You can really have a conversation between nerds about where that is, but that's the world. It's the heaviest form of post rock, or it's the most accessible form of post metal. One of the layers upon layers of fucking musical brilliance. They are playing Damnation this year. It's just before, well, so that with Russian circles into Ahab, into Cradle of Filth. So come along and have your head knocked off with Russian circles. That is an absolute belter tune. That you likely heard before played at Art Tangents. I think it's on the set list.
That yeah, yeah. I mean, oh man, they're so good when they click in. They're one of my favorite live bands to listen to. Just, they don't
Wait,
really move, do they? But,
and it just like next thing you know, you're
yeah,
in the rhythm of
when they get the like, it's everyone's heads just doing like just little like
even the people
nods.
that can't quite get it, they always know that they sort of click into it. See headbanging beside somebody that's not to the beat beside you, and they're just kind of
Yeah.
like this. You're putting me off. You're fucking putting me off my headbanging. Was that okay time for you, James? You happy with
No,
that one?
no, I think we fucking smashed the fucking timing again.
No,
But
we never. No. This is an hour and a half. I can tell when it's the hour and a half mark, and this one is the. I have no idea if you know where telling, but I know my sixth sense tells me as a seasoned podcaster that this is an hour and a half.
okay, I think it's an hour and 45, and I'll take that bet.
Let's go.